Services Marketing, Part 3. Previously, we've looked at the scope and definition of a service, what it is and where the term applies. We've looked at the characteristics of services. We've also looked at what makes services different from goods. We're now going to look at how we have to change the marketing mix to take account of these differences. So the learning outcomes for this lecture are to understand service processes and to outline the extended services marketing mix. First, let's recap on Part 2, where we looked at the characteristics of services: intangibility, inseparability, variability, and perishability, which we can remember using the acronym IVIP. And it is important that we remember the individual features of the different characteristics of services. Intangibility, meaning that something cannot be touched. Inseparability, referring to the simultaneous production and consumption of services. Perishability, meaning services have a short shelf life. They expire. You can't sell yesterday's hotel rooms today. And variability. It is very difficult to standardize services because of the emergent dynamic encounters that take place between the service producers and the service consumers. Now that we've learned to understand the characteristics of services, we can identify the services mix. You may remember that we looked at the goods services continuum previously. Well, we can rationalize that continuum into different categories of service mixes. You have pure product, where there are no services and the offering is purely physical. Things like sugar, shower gel, newspapers, chocolate. You have products with some services. Here the product is supported with a range of one or more services. Think of things like technology, such as buying a laptop, or engineering, buying a car, where you require showrooms, deliveries, warranties, repair facilities. You could argue that without these services, sales of these sorts of products would suffer. You have combination, where products and services are used in equal proportion in order to satisfy customer expectations. Just think of a restaurant where service is expected in equal measure to food and drink. You have service with some products. Here the emphasis is very much on the service, but there is a requirement for some products in order to deliver the service. Think of beauticians, where the service provider is delivering a service experience, but they require things like nail gels and varnishes in order to actually achieve satisfaction for the customer. And then you have pure service. Now, there are no actual products involved in the delivery of these services. Think of counselling, tax advice, seeing a mortgage broker, or soliciting the services of a dog walker. One of the first things that we add into the extended marketing mix is the acknowledgement of tangible cues. So this follows on from the intangibility characteristic of services. And what we realize is that in order to minimize the perceived risk that customers associate with potentially purchasing a service, they look for tangible cues of quality and references to things that they are familiar with. And these are designed to try and mitigate the impact of the intangibility of services. An old example is the dentist giving the child a lollipop for having visited the dentist. It's something that the child is guaranteed to enjoy, and it's a physical reminder that you've been to the dentist, trying to positively reinforce the experience, trying to create a memory that the child fondly remembers rather than being scared of visiting the dentist. If you're looking for something more close to home, the university graduation ceremony is a festival of tangible cues that relate to the passing out of the service experience of higher education. Just think of your academic gowns, your hats, the scrolls that you're given, the procession in the hall with the music, the staff, friends and family. This is all a construction of symbolism to create tangible cues in relation to the process that you have gone through over many years in your education. Service processes. Services are considered to be processes, and a process is a series of sequential actions that lead to predetermined outcomes. Note well that in reality, products are created in the same manner. It's just not that they're necessarily done so in front of the consumer. And these processes could be simplistic, making a cup of tea in a restaurant or waiting for a dentist in the waiting area. Or we could look at processes that are quite complex within services, such as managing thousands of passengers on a cruise ship over a 2-week voyage. There are different types of processes, and these are based on the service mix that we've just looked at. It could be argued that the types of services are based on whether they are processing equipment or people. For instance, a haircut is a people-intensive process, but the failure of a network server for Wi-Fi is an equipment-intensive process. We're going to go on and look at the 4 different types of processes now. Once we've acknowledged that services marketing is all about process, we can start to consider the different types of processes we might want to manage. And there are 4 main categories: people processing, possession processing, mental stimulus processing, and information processing. Let's look at each one of those in turn. People processing is something we as customers have to do on a regular basis. When we're processing people, our customers have to physically present themselves so that they can become immersed within their service experience or service process. We have to physically go to the dentist in order to get treatment, and that involves some people processing. If you go to a theme park, a lot of what theme parks are concerned with on their day-to-day management is people processing, how to move their customers through the different rides and attractions in an efficient manner and maintain high levels of positive experience among them. If you've ever queued for a budget airline, you will have seen speedy boarding queues and normal queues, and the relative sizes of those queues have an impact on the way we feel about them, about the value of our ticket. So the other aspect that we need to remember about people processing is that we often consume services in the company of other customers, and their presence has an impact on our experience, and indeed our presence has an impact on their experience.